These are kids that this is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin.
Autism is fine as long as you're not draining the economic system or the medical care system. That's basically what RFK Jr. is saying. Because a lot of us heard his uninformed sweeping statements and we're so quick to be like, I'm autistic and I pay taxes. I go to the bathroom unassisted. I'm married. I have kids. I played baseball. That wasn't the point. He's targeting the most vulnerable of us. He is equating human worth in society to your ability to push the economic agenda. My ability to pay taxes means that I have a job, I'm supporting the economy. My ability to go on a date means that it increases my likelihood of having children to, yeah, guess what? Push forward the economy. There's a reason they're targeting autism, because there's not a known cause and there are high support needs individuals that instead of trying to provide support, they're equating worth to their ability to do things that are going to push forward the economy. And when we have a large amount of individuals in our society who aren't contributing towards the economy, that mindset, RFK Jr.'s mindset is, we got to figure out a way how to get rid of that diagnosis and how to get rid of those people. They're targeting the most vulnerable of us.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I'm so glad you're tuning in today. And to all my returning viewers, thank you so much for always showing love and support. I truly appreciate you. And if it's your first time here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the family. You're more than welcome here. So guys, let's get into today's topic because it's a heavy one. We are talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., yes, RFK Jr., and the very controversial comments he recently made about autism. In his recent speech that was meant to address autism awareness, he ended up offending a lot of Americans, especially parents of children with autism. And he referred to autism as a disease, talking about finding the cause by the end of the year, and even went as far as to say that people with autism can't work and don't pay taxes, or even don't go on dates, basically implying that they are a drain on society. So let's take a look at what Americans are saying about his speech, because the backlash, it's loud and it's personal. So let's take a look.
I usually steer clear of anything political, but when it's personal to you, it's personal to you. So if you didn't know, I am a mom of 3 kids, 2 of which have autism. And I greatly take offense to RFK's stance on autism being an epidemic. That goes against everything that we believe and have told our kids as a family. Autism just means your brain's different. It's not a disease. There's no cure, and it's not an epidemic for sure. I think, just like anything, testing has gotten much better. The spectrum is a spectrum for a reason, and people that would have been missed 20 years ago are no longer being missed. So I don't know, where he gets off on this and claims he's gonna, find the cause by September. Well, people have already found it that are scientists, and it's usually genetic. So
there's a lot of angry parents on the internet right now when talking about the RFK autism situation. And I'd say all, if not mostly all, are parents who have very high functioning autistic children. Children that go to school just fine with maybe an IEP, or students who have graduated college and gotten married and are high functioning in society. But I want you to take a trip down memory lane with me to what I experienced in 2016 and 2017 with my autistic son. Pretty much every morning for months when he was 2 years old, we woke up to feces smeared all over the wall around his crib. The sound of the head banging on the baby monitor still haunts me to this day. The day that he stopped looking me in the eye and smiling, he was just looking past me with an empty stare. And the day he stopped talking. I am so grateful, eternally grateful to the moms who I had in my corner during those months, almost a year, of figuring out how I could help him, because we did.
Thank God they're finally talking about it and they're at least looking into it. Look into it. He just said this study was 2 years late. It was a 2-year late study. Why? When it's like 1 out of 30, why is it late? Like, our kids are suffering, and you're 2 years late.
Timu JFK really got on TV and said that anybody who carries the diagnosis of autism disorder, he keeps saying disease, but it is a disorder, and somebody in his position should know the difference. But anybody who carries the diagnosis of autism is going to grow up and basically not be a functioning adult and be a burden on society. That they're not going to pay taxes, which is a really interesting thing for him to say, especially first. They're not going to be able to get an education. They're not going to be able to date, hold a job, and that they aren't going to be able to toilet themselves without assistance. So I know I am diagnosed with autism. I was late in life diagnosed. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, 3 minors, and a separate associate's degree. I have a full-time job. I have a husband. I have a child.
RFK Jr. got on America's stage yesterday and said that autism is not a disorder, it's a disease, and that we are in an epidemic of autism. He went on to say that genes do not cause this epidemic and that we have to identify the environmental toxin that is causing it. And I want him and everyone else in America's cabinet to look in the mirror and understand that the environmental toxin is the toxic environment of America. Now, I want people to understand that we are entering a very dangerous territory, and this will not just impact autistic people. So I want you all to follow me because I want to make sure you understand what I'm talking about when I'm talking about how dangerous this is. See, we live in a capitalistic society. What does that mean? That means that we value production, right? The production of goods, the production of services for financial gain. But it goes deeper than that because capitalism requires people, right? We are the capital. Our main source of capital is people. Now, when you have people that are seen as production units instead of human beings, then you have things like these conversations that are going on with RFK and the administration of trying to fix things, because they're not trying to fix humans. They're trying to make sure that people can be productive, because if not, they're losing money.
RFK Jr. had a lot to say about people in the autism community. So much, in fact, that the news could only be bothered to show you about a 20-second clip and think you were going to understand what he meant. And I'm not even going to lie, I love RFK Jr. And when I first saw the statement, I was like, whoa, okay, let me dive into this a little bit more. Because yes, it is very alarming when you see the way that he was talking about the autism community if you don't understand the context that he was talking about 25% of the autism community. And as someone with a child in the autism community who would be considered in that 25% that he was talking about, I understood exactly what he meant. Those of us with kids on the autism spectrum who are considered those severe cases in that 25% do care about what he has to say. And a lot of us do have valid concerns about where our children will be in the future. Will we be able to ever play sports with our kids? Will we ever hear our kids say words? Will they ever have jobs and live a sustainable life? And let me just say that every single one of us that is in this position would absolutely do anything that is required to take care of our kids for the rest of their lives, no questions asked. But that doesn't mean that our concerns about where our children will be in the future and our questions about what has done this to our children are not valid. And don't get me wrong, I am not one of those people, and a lot of us are not the type of people that think that autism is something that needs to be cured. But yes, a lot of us believe that there are questions that could be answered from further research, like where does it come from? What could be causing it? How can we better treat it and maintain it? Now, you may not agree with every single thing that RFK Jr. says and does, and a lot of us don't either. But as a mom especially, RFK Jr. is about the only person that most of us can think of that has been this vocal about issues surrounding our children.
The reactions speak for themselves, and as a mom, as a human being, it's really upsetting to hear a presidential candidate speak about children and adults with autism as if they are broken, or worse, as if they are liabilities. And RFK Jr. couldn't use that platform to advocate for more support, inclusion, and resources, and instead he chose to dehumanize, saying that people with autism can't pay taxes or go on dates. That's not only untrue, it's insulting. And I'm sure there are autistic individuals out here building careers, loving deeply, raising families, starting businesses, you name it. And even for those who may never fit society's typical expectations, their value is not up for debate. And I also find it ironical that in 2025, when awareness and understanding of neurodiversity is supposed to be improving, So that's just what I had to say about it. But you're welcome to give your thoughts and take on this conversation. So drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you think about this whole conversation. And also don't forget to like, share, and of course subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot more coming your way and I'd love for you to be part of the journey. So guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.